Well, happy Saturday, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com with your weekly news roundup for July 22nd, 2023. Every week, I take a look at some headlines, news stories, and articles from across our state to provide you some information about what's going on and maybe even some strategy for how you can make Colorado a freer place. Well, pour yourself a cup of coffee and let's take a look at some headlines. As always, you can find the articles on freestatecolorado.com, as well as a lot of other resources, videos, and interviews, articles as well. In particular, Natalie Metten and I are doing a property tax series right now. We're on part 5. Will be released here just in a couple days from when I'm recording this. But take a look, become an expert on property taxes if you're interested. Could be very useful information if you are a candidate running for office or somebody who wants to become a local liberty activist. But let's take a look at some headlines, see what's going on this week. DenverGazette.com. This is from July 17th, 2023. Rising cost of living and housing remain top concerns for Coloradans, poll finds. Well, I don't think you need a poll to know that. Housing is absolutely crazy. The prices are unbelievable, astronomical, I guess is another way to put it. But it's very interesting to look at polls to kind of gauge the views of voters, to see what people are thinking about, what's in the headlines, and what are people caring about for upcoming elections. Maybe this is something that this information could be leveraged for political purposes, whether you're a candidate running for office or maybe an activist during the legislative session. Cost of living and housing affordability remain top concerns for Coloradans, based on findings from the 4th annual Pulse poll, commissioned by the Colorado Health Foundation. Concerns over politics, homelessness, and public safety, however, were not far behind. And an open ended question about top issues of concern for respondents showed that water, climate change, and wildfires were of equal concern to the cost of living. Interesting there. The poll was conducted by 2 firms working together, liberal-leaning FM3 Research and conservative-leaning New Bridge Strategy. The Colorado Health Foundation said Monday in a statement the results are consistent with recent polls and analyses that showed Denver and cities across Colorado, recently considered some of the most desirable and livable cities in the country, are now falling further down the rankings. Well, it's pretty interesting. You can definitely read that article at Denver Gazette. But let's take a look at the poll. Let's go ahead and click into it and see. This is the poll from Pulse, Colorado Health Foundation poll 2023 findings. So survey results and methodology. Let's take a look here. Top concerns. So cost of living and housing affordability are the top issues facing Colorado. Question 14, in a few words of your own, what is the most important issue facing Colorado right now? So that must have been the open-ended question. So cost of living and inflation, 16%. Housing affordability, 15%. Makes a lot of sense. Things are more expensive than ever. Government and politics, it's a pretty broad category. Not sure exactly what they mean by that, but 13%. Maybe the polarization, maybe people from both sides being outraged or upset about the direction things are going. Homelessness, 13%. Public safety and crime, 10%. Homelessness was 10%, excuse me. Water, overpopulation, growth and development. Climate change, economy, guns. Kind of good to see guns so low on here because I'm a big Second Amendment advocate, of course, and the list continues. What is interesting to see is cost of living inflation, housing affordability, homelessness, public safety, overpopulation growth, very similar issues kind of tie in together. So, consistent theme at the top. Now, of course, that could be just related to the questions that were asked in this poll. But let's see, relative to 2022, top concerns have remained consistent. So homelessness has gone up a little bit. Public safety, crime, and drugs has gone up a little bit. No surprise there. The streets of Denver are a very scary place late at night, especially in the Lodo area. Encourage everyone to go down to downtown Denver and see what's going on down there with the massive and homeless encampments, the incredible amounts of trash on the street, and what it's like at night. It's very eye-opening to see what's happening in our capital city here. The rising cost of living, the cost of housing, and homelessness are rated among the most serious problems facing the state. Completely understand that. This is something to think about as a candidate for office or somebody who wants to be influential in politics. Talking about these issues and how they relate to the average person, these kitchen table ideas, it can be a very effective strategy. A lot of people in politics make an assumption that the average voter cares about these these big ideological ideas. maybe not so much. It's really comes down to our day-to-day lives that really motivates people to vote or get involved. You notice you don't see anything on here about Hunter Biden or, transgender stuff or Bud Light or any of this stuff that you might see on social media being talked about so heavily, but it doesn't really matter to the average person when they're having trouble paying for their rent, paying for their groceries, when they see the cost going up, but not their wages. So, good opportunity for people who believe in freedom to present solutions, because I can guarantee you the authoritarians, the people on the other side, are going to present solutions that are going to be ineffective and actually detrimental to our economic well being here in Colorado. So, it's up to people who believe in liberty and freedom to present a viable alternative that addresses these issues and helps move people towards a state where they're better off, where they have a better quality of life for themselves and their families. Relative to last year, concern about homelessness is up 7 points. Like I said, a big trip down to downtown Denver will reveal why that might be the case exactly. Different racial and ethnic groups offer similar rankings of concern about cost of living and housing facing Colorado. So, very consistent, it seems, across the board. Makes sense. These issues affect everybody pretty equally. Rising costs rate as a top concern among Coloradans of all income levels. Makes sense there. Partisan differences on these issues are modest. So these issues reach people across the spectrum: cost of living, cost of housing, homelessness, cost of healthcare, jobs in the economy. And these are very, very related issues. Residents of the Eastern Plains and Larimer-Weld regions are most likely to say the cost of living is a serious problem. So this is a very interesting poll, 56 pages. The link is posted on freestatecolorado.com to take a look, but very interesting. Lots of things to dig into, but really an important issue, of course, is no surprise here. This is what people are looking for, top concerns. People are looking for solutions. So remember that going into the legislative session, going into the election season, provide those solutions if you want to be heard. All right, let's move on. Taking a look at one more poll here from the centersquare.com. From Joe Mueller, July 18th, 2023. Support for Colorado property tax initiative falls when voters learn details. Now, this is a great news. Proposition HH, the horrible hoax, as Natalie Menton calls it. There's other words that you could use for HH that are less favorable, I would say, but very bad, bad policy. And let's hope that people reject HH. And it looks like people, when they learn the details, are more likely to reject HH. So that is wonderful news for us here in Colorado. If the election were held today, would you vote yes and approve, or vote no and reject Proposition HH? Total yes, 43%. Total no, 46%. 11% undecided. So kind of a toss-up, right? Poll of Colorado voters, zoom in a little bit, poll of Colorado voters found 54% favored Proposition HH, a measure to reduce property taxes and replace lost tax revenue with taxpayers' Bill of Rights refunds. However, when the survey's 662 probable voters in the November election were informed of state and local policies that would go into effect if the initiative passed, support declined to 43%. Wow. I think, people realize, hey, yeah, lower property tax is great. Everybody wants lower property taxes. But you're going to steal my tax refund? You're going to take my tax refund away from me? The one that's been touted so heavily so positively over the last several years? I mean, that's not fair. Especially imagine you're a renter, you're not going to see the savings from a small property tax reduction, and you're definitely going to lose out on your taxpayer refunds. So Magellan Strategies, a research firm serving local governments and school districts, paid for and conducted the poll. David Flattery, the chief executive officer and founder of Magellan Strategies, said the survey creates awareness for his company and emphasized it wasn't funded by any political entity. That's the straight, honest truth, Flattery said in an interview with the Center Square. We paid for it, and we've done that before. And honestly, with the complexity of Proposition HH, we couldn't resist because it's a Rubik's Cube of outcomes. So this article goes into the detail about some of the property tax issues we're facing. Natalie and I have spent hours going through property taxes here in 2023. If you're interested, some of the history, so take a look at freestatecolorado.com. But what's very interesting is that what this poll indicates, and that's the voter support or lack of it for Proposition HH. That's really hitting them in the wallet, Flattery said. Are they going to overlook some things if they happen to be a conservative? So while I'm surprised in the 10% drop in support, At the same time, it goes from a slight majority to knowing all of these things, and they're opposed for a myriad of reasons, depending on the voter's profile. So, very interesting. All right, let's move on. KimMunson.com, a local Colorado radio show host, if you don't know. Looking at this article here, medical surveillance from womb to tomb, the Colorado Immunization Information System. So, of course, we're still living in the shadow, unfortunately, of the COVID tyranny, the pandemic of the last 3 years. And this medical surveillance is something that we've seen grow. And combining that with digital IDs and state tracking systems can be kind of a frightening thing, really. So even though this is an older article, it was reshared recently, and I thought it was worth bringing up again from April 17th, 2023. So you can definitely, the system has been changed to opt out of it instead of opting in. Before you had to kind of opt into the system if you wanted to be involved. Now you have to opt out to get out of it. So here's the key line. Doctors and nurses are not required to tell parents that their child's immunization records are added to the state immunization registry named CIIS. So this is very important as a parent. If you're out there, if you're listening and you're a parent or have school-age children, your children, you think you're doing the right thing, giving them these immunizations, these vaccines, these drugs, but they are going into a state database where they're going to be tracked, as this article says, from cradle to grave to really keep an eye on them. And that might be something you might need to be concerned about. Records are added to the registry at creation of the birth certificate, when vaccines are given, and at schools and daycares when records are collected. It is an opt out system, meaning a parent must have knowledge that the registry exists and of their opt out rights. So, of course, as we get into the school season, hard to believe it's almost going to be August again, but very important to know. So, of course, a big concern is data security and audit concerns, right? Can somebody get into this data? Can somebody go in there and learn about your child? Are these agencies not complying with the best privacy or security practices? Inaccuracy costs taxpayers millions of dollars. Taxpayers are supporting a highly profitable vaccine industry database. No other for profit industry has a state funded record keeping system. And that's really key here, too, with these companies, is that they've developed a system in which people are being forced in many ways to take their products. Data sharing for profit. So, as you can see here, these public health officials sell this data to other corporations, which could be a breach of security, really, or privacy. So very interesting. Take a look at that article if you're interested. Like I said, school's right around the corner for a lot of people thinking about how their children are going to be back in the public school system. So something to be very interested in if that's the case for you. Let's move on here to Axios Denver, Axios.com, July 21st, 2023. So yesterday, Johnston raises $700,000 from lobbyists and corporations for inauguration party. Wow. There's always concern about money in politics, who's paying for what. But this is absolutely a lot of money for Mayor Michael Johnston, the new Denver mayor, first one in 12 years after Hancock's out, to get this kind of money from lobbyists and corporations. So these are the people who want to have a seat at the table, who want to be influential. All right. Michael Johnston relied on wealthy donors to propel his win in the Denver's mayor race, and now he's leaning on them to pay the tab for his celebration party. The new mayor's allies raised about $700,000 from nearly 80 corporations, developers, lobbyists, and deep pocketed donors for his inaugural party, according to a donor list obtained by Axios Denver. No tax dollars were directly spent on the party, but some of the donors do receive public money. Like I say, it's a good thing that no tax dollars were spent, but it is interesting, at the very least, to see the play here of these big donors who are, in some cases, very politically involved or getting taxpayer money. The sponsors are big names that receive lucrative taxpayer funded contracts or conduct business within the city. Amazon and United Airlines, the top two donors to Denver Vibes, a nonprofit organized to host the free party at Union Station, contributed $50,000 each. 5 more entities gave $25,000, including Comcast, which just inked a 5-year deal as the city's television partner. Is that really necessary? Does Denver need a television partner? Come on. A handful of companies that gave big dollar contributions are registered lobbyists or clients, including United, Airbnb, tobacco giant Altira, Wall Cane Consulting, and Crown Castle. So very interesting. On his first full day in office Tuesday, Johnston deflected questions from reporters about how the donations may influence his decisions, but said he would also ask them to contribute money to his plan to address homelessness, his top priority. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. The nonprofit voluntarily disclosed its donors to Axios Denver, but the list appears incomplete. AEG Presents, the entertainment company owned by billionaire and somewhat conservative donor, I would add, Phil Anschutz, contributed services but did not disclose their cost. At least two sponsors who were listed on the Inauguration's program, hotel group Sage Hospitality and former energy executive and nonprofit leader David Younggreen and his wife Debbie, are not detailed in the records provided by Johnson's inaugural committee. Interesting. So they didn't want to give up maybe what they were donating or what they were contributing, but they are contributors according to the program. So, very interesting to dig in. Money in politics is always very enlightening, kind of sheds light on the behind the doors moves that people are making. So, keep an eye on where Mike Johnston's getting his money and how these policies could be affected by that. I think that's a very compelling story. Well, let's move on. Of course, the great Complete Colorado page 2 can't do a weekly roundup without them because this is some of the best original reporting in the state. Always something very interesting, maybe something you didn't hear about. So this is from July 21st, 2023. Afjal Khan, Golden's flavored nicotine ban gets youth vaping problem wrong. Now, it is so dumb that Golden, the city of Golden and other places think they should be able to ban adults from using flavored nicotine. I mean, absolutely and utterly authoritarian. As the Golden City Council considers banning flavored nicotine products, it would be wise for them to consider some important facts concerning this issue. The major factor contributing to the increase in youth vaping is the accessibility of already illegal disposable vape products in kid-friendly flavors and youth-enticing packaging. These illegal disposable vapor products are flooding the market and driving youth use of vapor products. Youth use of these illegal vapes increased at an alarming rate in the last couple of years, despite an overall 62% decline in overall youth e-cigarette use during that same time. A ban on flavored tobacco products won't stop the flow of these products. Colorado needs to get serious about enforcement measures and clear store shelves of these illegal vapes. Now, I completely disagree with that. I think he's wrong. I don't think there should be any such thing as an illegal vape. You know, if an individual, primarily, if obviously an adult wants to use these products, then there's no reason why any state or government official should try and stop that or be allowed to or have the authority to do so. Retailers have taken measures to prevent underage sales. The problem lies in the illegal market and unregulated foreign disposable vapes. Well, that's key right there. I mean, this guy is really getting to the point of the problem with drug prohibition in general. Sure, the state can outlaw, you can kick it out at store shelves, but guess what? The market's not disappearing. I mean, these things are going to keep appearing in the community. The issue is really talking to children, talking to young people, and empowering them as decision makers to not put these things in their body. It's not the government's place or capability even to do this. Rather than a flavor ban, leaders should be addressing these illegal channels and not penalizing businesses like mine. So this guy owns a business here. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Youth Risk Behavior Surveillance System is a set survey that tracks behaviors that can lead to poor health in student grades 9 through 12. So daily use of youth cigarette use in Colorado is at historic lows. Well, that's good news, 0.6%. So people are barely using cigarettes. Menthol cigarette is only about 2.2%. So Colorado's tobacco policies are working according to this guy. A flavor ban would only penalize legal adults. There you go. It's a key line here. A flavor ban would only penalize legal adults. My body, my choice should apply to an adult who wants to use a menthol cigarette. 100%. 100%. A multifaceted approach is needed to target the sources of illegal disposable vape products, educate youth and parents to the dangers of these illegal products, and support responsible retailers. So very interesting. This guy owns Akshar Energy Convenience Store in Golden. So, that's really a shame that these bureaucrats, these politicians are coming out to trying to attack these local legal business owners, blaming them for the youth using these products that they don't even sell on these store shelves. But a flavored nicotine ban where adults can't smoke, Swisher Sweets, maybe flavored single cigarettes, small packs, menthols, anything like that. I mean, come on, people. Golden, you should be a little bit ashamed of yourself. Let the adults do what they want. and you're on the wrong side here. Well, let's move on. One last article of the week for you. Make sure you check out Liberty on the Rocks, a great Denver meetup, now in northern Colorado as well for liberty-minded individuals, sporting the Liberty on the Rocks mug here. So, of course, the FBI has been in the news a lot recently. Many people calling for the FBI to be disbanded, to be totally shut down, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. The FBI has become a state surveillance and state secret police system targeting political opponents and really overstepping their bounds beyond anything they should be allowed to do. This is from ColoradoPeakPolitics.com, Colorado's conservative bully pulpit, July 20th, 2023. Who is the autistic Colorado teen arrested by the FBI on terrorism charges? Wow. So you may have seen this in the news recently of some young kid wearing some headdress thing, you know, being arrested and plastered all over the news stations and this great bust by the FBI. Let's look at a little more details about what happened here. It's been nearly a week since an autistic youth from Castle Rock was arrested by the FBI at Denver International Airport before he could board a flight to the Middle East and join up with the terrorist group ISIS. You know, it's hard to think that would have went well for him. I can't imagine. And curiously, the local media has been completely incurious to find out any information on their own about this depressed teen with an extensive mental health rap sheet who was only targeted by the FBI for investigation after he turned 18. But we have questions. Reports say Davin Daniel Meyer was 17 when he was first reported to police as becoming radicalized and making comments that he wanted to die for Allah. It was his bucket list before he turned 30. Wow, that's weird. Reports also say he spent 8 months in a residential treatment program between 2021 and 2022, so this is over the last several years, and received diagnoses of, quote, autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, specific learning disorder with impairment in mathematics, and major depressive disorder, recurrent episode moderate, end quote. He refused to take medication for all of this, whatever medication one is supposed to take for being autistic and sucking at math, and reportedly made racist comments about women and others. Why are we are ever so curious as to how this 17-year-old with an extensive list of mental issues was so capable of plotting and carrying out this mission that led to his arrest by the FBI. From CBS Colorado, over the course of several months, Meyer obtained a passport and allegedly began preparing to travel to Turkey to meet other ISIS members and join their fight, according to the FBI. He's since been charged with attempting to provide material support or resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization. The FBI says Meyer wanted to join ISIS's fight in Syria and Iraq, or failing that, carry out an attack, going so far as allegedly saying he'd be willing to kill himself. Wow. Well, it's a very disturbed individual for sure. The article says we'd like to know more about the suspect's life before the FBI got involved, especially in light of reports that federal agents during the Obama administration, quote, identified vulnerable young men and individuals with mental or intellectual disabilities and exploited their vulnerabilities. In some of these cases, informants met young men in online chat rooms and engaged them in discussions, sometimes urging them down the perceived path towards radicalization. So it's a very good question. It is unfortunate, but this is the MO of what the FBI has become, and now it's here in Colorado, where you have these agents getting online with these mentally unstable individuals, young teenagers who have autism, and trying to convince them to become radical, violent terrorists. I mean, this is not the role of, this is not what the FBI exists for, and it's just a good example of maybe there's something more going on here. And how odd that the suspect is masked in the only photos made public by the feds, right? Where's his mugshot? You know, they don't show that. They only want to show you this. The media needs to start asking questions. Well, I really applaud Colorado Peak Politics for putting this article out there. It's definitely a topic that I could see a lot of political people being unwilling to touch. So kudos to Colorado Peak Politics for talking about this. Well, thank you very much for joining this week. It is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com. We'll see you next time. Please check out the website. You can follow me on Twitter and Telegram and Facebook. Got some great new videos coming out about the property tax issues, particularly in Arapahoe County. So I'll look forward to that and keep fighting for freedom. Take care.